I've been thinking a lot about change this week. Lots of things have changed for me over the past 2 years. We'll talk about some of that and what's changing over at DC right after this. Thanksgiving is here, Christmas is coming, and the new year is just around the corner. If you're like me, then New Year's gets you to start thinking about your goals. The Goal Process 101 ebook is here to help you. Goal Process 101 will walk you through everything from choosing the best goals to making them reality in your life. It helped me start this podcast. Check it out at christiannerdsunite.com/goals. Now, back to the show. Like I said a few minutes ago, everything changes. And it seems like things change faster and faster every year. My life has changed substantially over the last 2 years. I'll give you just a little bit of my story. 2 years ago, about this time of year, my wife suddenly went into the hospital with a really strange heart rhythm issue. And within 3 months, she had a total artificial heart. Talk about a change. That also changed my life, not just hers. I now care for her 24/7 out of my house. So I'm here all the time and spend a lot of time with her every day. And it's the most wonderful thing that's ever happened. We've been together for almost 25 years now. And we've spent more time in the last 2 years together than I think we have in the whole 25 years we've been married. But things definitely changed for me. I left my full-time job as a video editor to come home and create a new life, doing lots of things online and to care for my wife. Well, there's one thing that doesn't change, and this is the Christian Nerds podcast, so we're always going to talk about scripture at some point. There is one thing that is always consistent, and that's God. Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. It's great to know that. Well, today we're going to talk about another change. We're going to talk about some changes that are happening over at DC. And if you haven't heard about this is some pretty big news. Lots of things changing. Now, there are some really crazy things happening right now over at Warner Brothers and at DC. And we're getting some odd messages. So we don't know exactly what all is true. Today, I'm going to try to sort out some of the things we know for sure are happening and some of the things that are questionable that we're really not too sure about. In fact, I think are pretty doubtful. Well, we all know there's a new Batman in town, and Parteon is going to be the new Batman. He's already shooting. We're super excited and looking forward to that movie coming out. But right now, I want to talk to you about something called DC Universe. If you're not familiar with DC Universe launched in September of 2018. It was designed as kind of a combination of things. If you are a Marvel fan, you may be familiar with Marvel Unlimited, which is their digital comic book process. You buy Marvel Unlimited and you have access to about 25,000 comic books digitally. Not everything that's ever been produced. And you have to wait 6 or 9 months for the newest stuff to show up digitally. But it's a great way to read comics digitally if that's your thing. Now, for me, I have always been a comic book fan. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I actually collected physical comic books. Lately, I've been reading everything digitally, and Marvel Unlimited is one of the places that I go. DC Universe was going to be the DC version of that, plus some other things. Warner Brothers had this great idea to segment out all of the DC content into its own little world. So you got DC Universe. Now, when I say all of the content, I mean all of it. They had the comics. They had old TV shows. You could watch the old Shazam Captain Marvel TV show from the 70s. You could watch the 60s Batman TV show. All of the animated DC shows were on there. All of the movies that Warner Brother produced for DC were available on DC Universe. Lots of originals. They had the Titans TV show and Doom Patrol. So original content was also going on to this specific platform. Like I said, lots of old stuff as well. But that was kind of the plan. Now, I think that sounds like a great idea, and maybe that could work. But it didn't. Obviously, it didn't, because DC is now making a huge change. And if you haven't heard about this, it's pretty substantial. DC Universe is now becoming DC Universe Infinite, because you need another superlative on the end of anything, I guess. But as of January 21st, in the US, and it's going to be available sometime in the summer internationally. But DC Universe Infinite will be available. Now, what's that mean for all those people? If you're a subscriber to DC Universe already, DC is telling us you're just going to transfer right over to the new platform. Nothing is going to change for you personally, except the pricing and what's available. So let's talk about that a little bit. DC has, or Warner Brothers, the parent company, they have decided to separate this product. And honestly, I think it's a great idea. DC Universe Infinite is going to be the digital comic books platform for DC. That's it. It's the digital comic book platform for DC, and they're not going to mix in any of the TV shows, movies, any of that video content. That's a huge change. That's a substantial change from what their original plan was just 2 years ago. And honestly, I think it's a good idea. Let's look at Marvel for a moment. When you think about Marvel, you think, well, you have access to the digital comics through Marvel Unlimited, and you've got access to almost all of the video content, TV, movies, old stuff, new stuff, original stuff that's coming out all over on Disney Plus. Now, think about that for a moment. If you are a real comic book fan, and when I say a real comic book fan, I mean you enjoy picking up paper and reading it. You go to a comic book shop and you actually buy comic books or graphic novels. That's different than a lot of the people who like the TV and movie side of DC or Marvel. It's a different group of people. There are tons of people who say, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge DC fan. I watch all the Batman movies." Yeah, that's a different thing. It's not the same. It's not the same. So we have this group of people who might have been interested in DC universe for the video content, but had no interest in the digital comics. You had another group of people who were interested in the digital comics and may have some interest in the video content, but it might not have been enough for that platform to survive. And I think this is what happened. So now they're splitting this up, and it's going to be much more like the Marvel model. We're going to have a digital comics platform, and we're going to take all of the video content and we're going to add it to an existing digital platform that has more content that people might have a broader interest in. And what's that look like? We're looking at HBO Max. So all of the video content from the DC universe is shifting over to HBO Max. You might have already been seeing that over the last couple of months. Lots of talk about the Snyder Cut. I call it the Schneider Cut. The Snyder Cut. People are really looking forward to that. I am personally. An 8-hour Justice League movie sounds really cool. I want to see it. I want to see what he does. So we're splitting these two things into two separate products, and I think it's the right way. Disney did the same thing. You know, they left the Marvel Comics, the Marvel Unlimited, they left that product as is standalone. They brought all of the TV and movie products and they put them onto their Disney Plus platform, which had a broader reach. I know there are lots of people out there that talk about, yeah, I subscribed to Disney Plus for The Mandalorian, and as soon as The Mandalorian's over, I'm canceling my subscription. Well, that's great, except I have girls. When you have girls, guess what you watch? You watch princess movies. Just telling you right now. If you've got girls, you're going to watch princess movies. And so Disney Plus is a part of who we are. It's a part of our life now, and I'm stuck with it. I actually decided to buy in early when they did their special 3-year deal. That was super cheap. So I'm stuck with Disney Plus probably for the rest of my life now. Thank you, Disney. That being said, now we have a DC split where all of this content is being added to HBO Max, which makes perfect sense. So you've got these people who say they really love DC. What they really mean is they love watching the Batman movies. They liked watching the Superman movie. They liked the animated TV shows. They've never touched a comic book in their entire life and have no interest in it. And that's perfectly fine. But what we've done is we've taken all this video content, we've thrown it over to HBO Max, where there are other shows that these people might be interested in, like Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon. I can't remember what all else is exclusive to HBO Max right off the top of my head. But it gives them an opportunity. Now they've got a product that they're interested in buying for more reasons than just because of DC content. And that's where I think they missed the mark with the original intent of DC Universe. I think they tried to take these two groups of people, they tried to cram them together, and it just didn't work. It's one of those situations where you in hindsight, this was not a good idea, but it sounded good on paper. So what is DC Universe Infinite going to be? Like I said, January 21st, it's going to launch. It is going to remain the DC digital comic books platform. All of the stuff I'm reading right now says they're going to launch between 24 and 25,000 comic titles. It's going to be around $7 or $8 a month, which is very comparable to the Marvel platform. It's in line with Marvel as far as the number of comics available. It's in line with Marvel as far as the pricing. Also, you do have to wait 6 months for the newest issues to show up in the DC Universe Infinite, which makes perfect sense. They want the comic book shops to have first chance to sell, and then those people who are digital will have to wait. Now, They do say there's going to be some special things on DC Universe Infinite. There will be some digital first products. I don't exactly know what those are going to be. Some kind of comic books that will be digital only is probably my expectation. It's going to be digital only. It's not going to be digital first. They call it digital first. But my guess is it's never going to print it on paper. It will only be digital. But for those things, those will be something that only people from DC Universe Infinite will have access to. And that's pretty cool. It's an exciting addition to their platform. Now, as far as HBO Max goes, HBO Max already has tons and tons of content. If you know about HBO, if you've ever heard of them, you know movies, TV shows, all sorts of things. So Warner Brothers parent company owns HBO Max. If you didn't know that, I keep track of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I nerd out that way. So HBO Max is going to take all of that existing video content from the DC Universe platform, move it over. So, but we're going to have new series. We're going to have those classics. Already, this is a done deal and will happen. Young Justice seasons 1 through 4 are going to be on the platform. Titan season 1 through 3 are going to be on the platform. Doom Patrol seasons 1 through 3. The Stargirl season. I think there's only one season right now of Stargirl. That's going to move over. The Harley Quinn show seasons 1 through 3 are going to show up, and then they say key DC classics. Now, I don't know what key DC classics means. I don't know if that means they're going to get rid of some of the weird stuff. Will you be able to watch the old Shazam show from the 70s? I don't know. I expect the 60s Batman, Adam West, that's going to be on there. The Batman animated series absolutely will be on there. Some of the Justice League shows will definitely be on there. And then we've got new stuff that's coming. I already mentioned the Snyder cut of Justice League that's going to be released. And if you're interested in HBO Max, before you spend money on it, check out AT&T. If you've got AT&T cellular for your cell phone, check out your plan and see if you have HBO Max for free. Yeah, you heard that right. Free. I like free stuff. I actually just found this out recently. I could have been watching things on HBO for the last 2 years or so since they've had this offer out, but I didn't know it was a part of my plan. And so now I have access to HBO Max, where you can watch HBO Max. You just have to look at your different players. Roku right now does not have an HBO Max app, unfortunately. That's sad. So HBO Max on my cell phone, it is for right now. We'll see what happens later. But I expect Roku will update that pretty soon. The HBO Max, their new product from HBO, is fairly recent. But because it switched over from HBO Now, I think. So when they called it Max, they changed the name, they changed the app. And they changed the access. So that was kind of a weird deal. But I think this is a great plan. Like I said earlier, the idea that DC was going to create its own streaming platform for digital comics and video content, and that was all that was going to be on it, I think that was destined to fail from the get-go. There just isn't enough there to warrant the pricing. And, the comics, absolutely, there are people that love that stuff. They love digital comics, and they could see that happening, but the price was prohibitive because they had added all this video content. Now, you take that video content, add it in there, and you jack up the price, that doesn't help. But splitting it up into this new format, I think it's going to work. I think DC Universe Infinite is going to be successful. HBO Max is already successful. They don't need any more success, but they will probably get new subscribers because people want to see the DC content. There are people that they're already subscribed to things like Netflix and Hulu and things like that. So they're not scared to, delve into one more platform. Especially if you can find it for free because of some other thing that you already have. If you're a cable subscriber, you may have access to it free as well. So check that out as well. That is something that I am currently not. And in a future show, we are going to talk about streaming and cutting the cord. I did it not too long ago. So having all these streaming services is definitely the way for me to go. In fact, I think we'll talk about that next week. Let's make that our next episode. We're going to talk about cutting the cord and going from cable to just streaming. It's been exciting hanging out with you. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, definitely give us a comment, give us a rating wherever you're listening to us at. That definitely helps the podcast. It helps get us out there. Share us on social media and join us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram at Christian Nerds Unite. And you can join our group at facebook.com/groups/Christian Nerds Unite. Hey, it's been great hanging out with you for the last, 15, 20 minutes or so. And we look forward to hearing from you. Message us. Let us know what you'd like to hear on the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Blessings.